Welcome back. Vermont's Attorney General has plenty on her plate, and now fighting the Trump administration is a top priority for her office. In this week's episode of the 802 News podcast, Charity Clark sits down with host Mark Johnson to talk about the lawsuits she's filed or joined against the Trump administration. Let's take a listen.
We are working, those of us who are focused on this are working, nights and weekends, and it is a lot, but that's also what we signed up to do. So we're doing it with pride. A lot of people feel really helpless right now, but not my office. We know we have a job to do and we're doing it. So we have a lot of pride in that. That being said, there is a lot of work that we are having to do, and at some point it's not really sustainable.
And Mark joins us now. Thanks for being here.
Sure.
So why does Clark say these lawsuits are important to take on?
Well, they are major issues. I think she feels that she took an oath to try to uphold the Constitution, and she sees just major violations. I mean, what's incredible to me about this, there's been basically a lawsuit a week since the administration took over.
And with Vermont being one of the smallest states in the country, to be quite frank, do we really have to join on to these larger lawsuits with many other states? Or if we file a lawsuit just on our own, would people care?
Well, I think that being in a coalition, I asked the same question, who cares what a state of 640,000 people think? And, her point was that you've got to do this as a group. Now, what's interesting is that it's only been Democratic attorneys general that have signed on to these. I think she would like to see this broadened out into a more of a bipartisan coalition. Some of these suits involve things like birthright citizenship, access to information by Elon Musk and Doge, and that those might be areas that are ripe for Republicans to also join in. But, as we know, Republican attorneys generals might be leery of doing that and sort of sticking your neck out.
Mm-hmm. When we talk about things like lawsuits filed, we heard the AG say, hey, my office is spending a lot of time on these particular lawsuits, and it might not be sustainable ultimately to do this many. What happens then if it isn't sustainable to keep working on these lawsuits amidst all the other things the AG's office would have to do, aside from that just being the Attorney General in Vermont?
I was surprised that she said only 2 people in her office are really working on this full time. They have about 100 lawyers in the Attorney General's office, which, to be honest, I didn't know they had that many. They are going to request a 3rd person because this is getting larger than what I think they anticipated. During the first Trump administration, there were 62 lawsuits that the state of Vermont joined in on, success on 60 of them. Those are mostly environmental cases. These are more focusing on, has the executive branch exceeded its authority? So I think there's a recognition that there are a lot of these, they're being very proactive on them, but they have already requested the legislature give them a 3rd person.
Mark Johnson, thank you so much for your time today. And of course, you can always catch the 802 News podcast on our website or wherever you get your podcasts.